fantastic speaker, Dr. Hasnita Dato Hashim. Many of you will know her. She's the chair of Maybank Investment Banking, and she's probably also incredibly famous for her PhD in nuclear physics from Oxford. She's been a long-term supporter of this movement, and she's also given her time to be a mentor. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm switching gears a bit from the very serious talks that went on. I'm going to share some stories about my journey, particularly for those of you who are interested to join boards outside of Malaysia. It applies both, actually, in and out. But I wanted to pick up on some of the points that Tan Sri made earlier about my stories also will demonstrate things like integrity, humility, and being authentic. Maybe we can go to the first slide. Many people often ask me, why are you a banker where your PhD is in nuclear physics? My answer, at the risk of sounding flippant, because it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. So, ladies, I urge you, you can reinvent yourself to be anything that you want. You're under no obligation to remain the same just to make people feel comfortable, right? I've been in nuclear physics, I've been an actuary, banker, tech entrepreneur. I've worked at, there's so many things. And now I'm on the board of Maybank and chairman of the investment bank. A bit like Oppenheimer, I think I had some moral dilemma in terms of continuing in nuclear physics after I finished my PhD. I had offers from Russia, Pakistan, India to come and work on nuclear programs. India actually said you should join the winning side. But in a nuclear war, there are no winners, right? So I decided I'm going to go into finance because that's where the money is, just to be very honest with you. And, but I didn't have any background in finance, so I thought, let me explore actuarial science. I thought accountancy is too easy. Let's do actuarial. But actually, to be honest with you, doing actuarial science, it just brought me to tears. I did 4 years of that in London. Every 5 minutes, I'm checking my watch, when can I go home? And you know, that's not how you should live your life. You know, life is too short. You cannot waste time like this. So after 14 years in England, I packed my bags and I came back. And from then on, I have been pursuing subjects and professions that I'm really passionate about because I don't want to waste my time anymore. Whatever you do, you have to be passionate about the subject. So read widely, follow trends, and so on, and don't be afraid to add to your domain skills. You know, you will get all sorts of judgment from people, but let them judge you. You know, it's a woman's prerogative to change your mind after all. Even, you know, at any age you can do it. You don't have to think age as a limiting factor, you know. Right now I'm thinking, where should be my next direction? Maybe I can be a stand-up comedian, but since you're not laughing at my joke so much, I might put that to one side. So, you know, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself and follow the trends and so on, but be passionate. You know, we're talking a lot about sustainability. It's a very wide subject. So, you know, you might say, oh, now trend is ESG, sustainability, let me follow that. But then you're not being true to yourself by just following the trend. Look at the components of sustainability. You know, what is it that you're really interested in? Is it about improving the lives of communities? Is it that you are more into regulatory compliance and so on? You know, like myself, for example, I'm interested in energy transition because I have some background in that. I cannot say I'm an expert in all of sustainability. I'm not. It's too much, right? So reinvent yourself, but be true to who you are. I think we can go to the fourth slide. Can go on. The next one. The second part is really about building relationships versus networking. I'm not very fond of this concept or word of networking because it sounds so superficial. You're there to make contacts, to basically use people to get positions. I'd rather build relationships, but that takes a long time, and you have to be very patient, and you have to invest yourself and the time. Go for coffee with people, tell them what it is that you like about them, thank them for sharing their knowledge and so on, and watch that relationship grow when you are comfortable in each other's presence. Tan Sri talked about people hiring people from the same school. It's an old boys network, same school. They support Manchester United. They play golf together, and so on. They call it the old boys network, but they didn't meet each other at networking events. They are friends. And they basically appoint their friends to boards. So we ladies, and men as well, I don't mind being friends with men, we should become friends. But we have to invest the time and be patient. I did a lot of work in the Middle East, more than 30 years. The first 10 years, I say that I was building relationships. I really invested my time to build those relationships. But how do you build relationships? You have to create the feeling of trust between two parties. And you can only trust each other when you live within integrity and you really live within the values, your values, right? And you have to trust yourself before the others can trust you. And I want to just share one story with you about the building of trust. So the company that I was working with, we are advisors to many clients around the world. And we had this client from the US, 75-year-old American white male, and his business partner, who's a minority shareholder. And they wanted to raise capital in the Middle East and pointed out company. So I actually organized it for them, went on a trip. This guy has built a $100 million business. Nobody ever says no to him. He's never been to that part of the world. And he had some misconception about how people there behave, their culture, their values. And in my eyes, he didn't really show the proper respect. So we traveled to 6 countries in 2 weeks. All the time, I was quite patiently explaining to him, this is how you behave, and so on, and how you communicate with the people there. But he didn't want to listen. And there was a particular incident that happened. We were in Bahrain Airport. I remember this very clearly. He was so obnoxious and rude, and I just had enough. Fine, the company is going to make millions from him, but I can't go on like this because I'm going to destroy my own relationship with my investors. I just told him, you are the worst client I ever had. If you don't want to listen to my advice, just drop us as advisors, because this is not how you should behave, and you're never going to raise any money from these people. Actually, his business partner, who was a minority shareholder, was like, finally somebody is telling on my boss. He was so gleeful. But this guy, I call him Mr. D, he was quite shocked, but he slowly realized that I'm talking from experience, and it's coming from the heart. It's very authentic. And he respected that. So from then on, the trip went very smoothly, and in the last 10 years, we've raised hundreds of millions for him. And he and his partner actually got convinced to set up a joint venture company in the GCC, and I'm a board member of 2 of their companies there. They are even talking about setting up in Asia, and they said, we'll only do it if you are there. So you see, it pays to be genuine. And I could be more diplomatic and not tell him he's the worst client and so on, but fine. So that's about building relationships. So, go out there, build your relationships, but you have to be patient. Invest the time to do that. Now that you have, upskilled yourself, you have different domain expertise, you've built relationship, what next? Can we have the next slide? Well, I say here, you don't need to be a superhero. You can ask your family and friends for help. Women are conditioned to believe that we can do everything ourselves. This is very unhealthy. physically, mentally, emotionally. There's nothing wrong with asking your family and your friends, the relationships you build, for board seats, for example, for help. And once you're there, you can ask your fellow board members, your chairman, if you need to get up to speed with things. But also the management, for example, arrange training and so on. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for help. My Dutch husband always says, this is a translation from Dutch, which I don't really get after 27 years being married to him. But he says, no, you have, yes, you can get. It means that if you don't ask, it's already a no anyway. But if you ask, there is a possibility of getting it. Just a small demonstration of help. I was at one time chairman of a public agency in Malaysia in an industry that I don't really know much about, education. It was very daunting. I was terrified because I was the only woman on the board chairing it. The rest were all captains of industry, male, much older than me. How am I going to do it? I decided that to employ the strategy, fake it till you can make it, and to syndicate help from my board members by asking them to focus on their area of expertise and help me to turn the agency around. And they were so happy to, it just worked like magic. They were so happy to do it because they can show off to each other, and they worked really hard. And they thought I was a brilliant chairman. Actually, they are brilliant team players, and I managed to get them all to work together with me. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's the time allocated to me today. I've enjoyed sharing my stories with you. I hope you are inspired by them. Thank you, and good luck.